Bluff and threatening words have little value with rascals. Bluff is no proof that hard fists are lacking. Are two morals better than one? Only if they don't contradict each other. The Farmer and the Cranes. Get ready for episode 5 of Deconstructing Aesop's Fables. A lighthearted look at Aesop's fables and what they mean in today's world. Let's deconstruct each fable to find out who is learning the lesson and what really the lesson is to be learned. The Farmer and the Cranes. Some cranes saw a farmer plowing a large field. When the work of plowing was done, they patiently watched him sow the seeds. It was their feast, they thought. So as soon as the farmer had finished planting and had gone home, down they flew to the field and began to eat as fast as they could. The farmer, of course, knew the cranes and their ways. He had had a bad experience with such birds before. He soon returned to the field with a sling, but he did not bring any stones with him. He expected to scare the cranes by just swinging the sling in the air and shouting loudly at them. At first, the cranes flew away in great terror, but they soon began to see that none of them ever got hurt. They did not even hear the noise of stones whizzing through the air, and as for words, they would kill nobody. At last, they paid no attention whatsoever to the farmer. The farmer saw that he would have to take other measures. He wanted to save at least some of his grain, so he loaded his sling with stones and killed several of the cranes. This had the effect the farmer wanted, for from that day, the cranes visited his fields no more. Bluff and threatening words are of little value with rascals. Bluff is no proof that hard fists are lacking. This is an interesting one because there's some contradictory things going on and it has two morals. And I think that's weird. So we'll look at it from the two different perspectives. You've got the crane and you've got the farmer. The farmer's just happily planting his seeds like he always does, and the cranes are watching from the side and they're plotting. The farmer knew the ways of the cranes because he'd had a bad experience with them before. And I don't know if this is at a different farm down the road. I don't know how many different farms people back in the Aesop days worked at, but I'm assuming that it's probably the same place and maybe a year later, unless he's farm hopping in different farms in ancient Greece. The birds wait till he's finished, he puts the seeds down, and then when he's done for the day, they come at the field and they start trying to eat the seeds, which is something a bird would do. Then for whatever reason, he has had past experience with this sort of bird. He decides not to put any stones in the slingshot and he starts swinging it around. And these birds are like, well, I mean, he's not firing at us. And then I guess they just quit paying attention. And then he starts putting stones in the slingshot and just popping off birds left and right. So then they all fly away and they don't come back again. Maybe until next season, I don't know, based on what's already happened. So, the theory of sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, that sort of comes up in here. The birds realize that there's no stones flying at them, so they keep coming. It's like a ground-to-air dogfight, like in some sort of military operation. It's crazy. These birds are flying around. This guy's trying to fake them out. I think from the crane's perspective, the lesson that they should learn is don't be greedy. Don't go back for more. Why would you get some seeds and then what, just keep going back and getting seeds, like more and more? Clearly the farmer doesn't want you there. So take what you can get and run, like cut your losses and get out of there. From the farmer perspective, stop being dumb. If you already had an experience with birds like that in the past, why would you decide that it's a good idea to bluff them out? Plus, I would think from just a perspective of if the birds realize that there's no rocks whizzing by them, they should also realize that how is this guy's sling even spinning around if he doesn't have any rocks in him? If he's not flinging any rocks, then what, he's just flopping around a droopy sling? That seems ridiculous. So the moral of not going back for more, especially if you're doing something wrong, like these cranes are doing, is an experience I had when I was in high school, I guess. I was with somebody, we were in a car, and it had just rained, so there were puddles on the side of the road. And we were over in a beach area, and there were people just walking down the street. So this person decides to go drive through the puddle and then splash the people on the side. And you could tell they were not happy about this because I could see them in the rearview mirror, and I look at the driver and I'm like, hey, way to go there, buddy. And then he goes and he turns around and he goes to do it again. And then when he does it again, right when he's coming up, they clearly see that he's coming and they throw rocks at the car. Much like the cranes. It's not just cranes, it's junior drivers. It could be anybody that is representing this. It's hard to tell who's learning the lesson here. The farmer shouldn't have to worry about this. He should have things in order. He's a farmer, and he's dealt with birds like this in the past. The birds, they're greedy. The guy in the car, I don't know. Choose your own opinion. Anyway, this is why I say there are contradicting morals. Bluff and threatening words have little value with rascals, which makes sense, especially if those rascals had already been the rascals you've had trouble with in the past. And you've already done this. They should know at least the first time. At least the first time they can get away with it. The second time, that's when they're being greedy. Bluff is no proof that hard fists are lacking. I mean, it should be. If you're bluffing, then you're bluffing. When you're playing poker, and when someone calls your bluff, that means you don't have what you say you have, which in this case is the stones, which they should have known from the floppy sling. Anyway, some of these stories are pretty confusing. Don't be greedy and don't be an idiot. The Farmer and the Cranes. This has been Deconstructing Aesop's Fables, and I have been Jon Wilkins. Hello, this is Jon Wilkins. If there is a specific fable that you would like deconstructed, I am happy to do it. Find Aesop's Fables on Facebook and then pick out a fable that's been read, and I'll be happy to deconstruct that one sooner than another one. Also, if you're familiar with Hit Record, I have a project there where you can write your own fable. Input is always welcome. Just send a message. Links are in the details section.